بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أصدقائي الأعزاء، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. مش هطول عليكم النهاردة أو دلوقتي. هتكلم معاكم على موضوع من أهم المشروعات اللي كل الحكومات المصرية بتحاول إن هي تعمله منذ أيام عبد الناصر، السادات، مبارك طبعا فرم للبلد. دلوقتي السيسي بيحاول يسرق 2.5 مليار دولار عشان يعمل دراسة جدوى. لا، احنا في تكنوقراط مصر جبنا دراسة جدوى وجاهزة هي للتنفيذ، ومفيش حد هيسرق لا فيها ولا قرش ولا 10 ولا 2 مليار ولا الكلام ده كله. وانا بتكلم دلوقتي هجيب لكم الخبر اللي هو بيقول ان هو بيعمل دراسة جدوى عشان مشروع القطارة، والفيديو بتاع مشروع القطارة اللي هو فيه دراسة الجدوى معمولة من اكبر بيت خبرة عالمي هندسي من شركة ايلون ماسك. انتوا عارفين ايلون ماسك اغنى راجل في العالم، وراجل يعني ما بعده انسان ممكن ان هو يتحدث عن التكنولوجيا. احنا جبنا الفيديو اللي هو اتكلم فيه عن دراسة الجدوى لهذا المشروع، ترجمناه هدية للشعب المصري. بعد انتهاء هذا النظام نقدر نعمل هذا المشروع، بالإضافة إلى مشروع آخر سيتم وضعه بعد هذا الفيديو مباشرة عشان حضراتكم تعرفوا إيه الفوائد اللي ممكن نستفيد منها. هذا الفيديو خاص بالتكنولوجيا اللي هتستعمل عشان المشروع يصل للنور، وما هي الشركات اللي هتشتغل فيه، والأسعار كمان. تعالوا نشوف الفيديو.
Hello and welcome back to A Boring Revolution, your number one news source for everything in regards to the Boring Company and Elon Musk. My name is Will. Welcome back to the channel. We have an excellent little episode for you today in regards to a particular project I think is an absolute belter of a project that the Boring Company should be doing. It will definitely boost the understanding of the technology and how they can build tunnels, and I think it will give definitely the world an understanding of what the Boring Company can do. Therefore, they should definitely do it. So let's look at the project and let's discuss the engineering. So, what is this project? It's called the Qatar Depression. Now, this project has been talked about for over 70 years, maybe 80 years. What is it? Well, the Qatar Depression is this area here. It is essentially desert land. Nothing lives here. Other than a few camels and a few scorpions, nothing lives here. There is next to zero water. There is nothing. This land is essentially worthless. So why are we talking about this? Well, the key selling point about this land is that most of it is between 50 and 133 meters below sea level. It's also right next to the Mediterranean, and it has been proposed in the past that you would build either a canal or some kind of pipeline linking this particular depression and fill it full of water, thus making the land around it valuable. Now, we could do that. The Boring Company could do this project. This project has kind of been forgotten about for the last 20 or so years, but with the Boring Company technology, with the ability to dig tunnels at a rapid pace and very cost effectively, they definitely could dig a series of tunnels linking this depression and thus filling it full of seawater. As you can see, it is a huge area. From tip to tip is 190 miles long. Overall, that is 7,500 square miles. That is bigger than quite a few countries. So we are talking a huge area, and it's right next to Cairo and the Nile. So it's in a reasonable location, just across the Mediterranean from Greece. Now, the proposed project would include either a tunnel or 4 tunnels in this particular area here. Potentially you might only need 1 tunnel, but I think that if you want to do it properly, you need 2 tunnels. It's this area here. It's about 55 kilometers or around 34 miles. Now, why would we build this? What is the point in building something here in the desert, in the middle of nowhere, where no one lives and the land is worth next to nothing? Well, once completed, land values could easily, and I'm talking very easily, 100x inside of 5 years. This land is worth nothing. When you add seawater, when you make this land usable, and the fact that it's in this location so close to Europe, it suddenly becomes very, very, very valuable. So it's definitely a money-making opportunity, not just for the government, but for people that own or could buy land in this area and either develop it or flip it. Now, it'll be relatively easy to build this particular project. Like I say again, it can be done with 1 tunnel. If you do 1 tunnel, you wouldn't flood the entire area. There wouldn't be enough water volume coming through that tunnel. However, you could add subsequent tunnels at a later date, thus increasing the water level. You probably need maybe 2, maybe 3 tunnels, maybe 4 tunnels just to be safe. It's up to you how much you want to spend. It is highly probable, and I mean very, very highly probable, the Egyptian government would fund their entire project. They've just spent an absolute shit ton of money on the Suez Canal. Why would they not spend a relatively small, affordable amount of money on this project if it increases the GDP of their country? They definitely get $10 back for every dollar they invest in this scheme easily. It's very close to Europe, thus a potential tourist attraction. Now, I've mentioned the Palm in Dubai. This could be a really excellent smart town or smart city. It could be a place where people could holiday. You could have hotels here, restaurants, bars. You could sell the property here to high net worth individuals. You could sell thousands and thousands of acres for development. It is an endless opportunity. All you need to do is use your imagination, guys, and this is the perfect place to do it on this channel. So it will literally put Egypt on a map. The map of the world will change because this is such a huge area, 7,500 square miles of pristine lake, which could be used for a hell of a lot of different things, and that in turn will boost the local economy by a good few percentage points in the next couple of years. So at its lowest point is 133 meters below sea level. Most of it is around 30 to 50 meters below sea level, so it's reasonably deep. That is a hell of a lot of water. So how are you going to get that water into that area in large volumes, enough to fill the lake? Because you've got to imagine that temperatures in this area regularly exceed 35-36 degrees Celsius, thus there'll be high levels of evaporation. So what I'm proposing, based on my experience in the industry, obviously I've never built anything like this before, however we all have our imaginations, we all have our degree and our experience to fall back on. This is why I think would be the best means of doing it. It would be a 0.4 kilometer canal. It would be 50 meters wide and 20 meters deep at its deepest point. At some points it would be around 8 meters deep at the edges, because we don't necessarily need to make the whole thing 20 meters deep. This is the most cost-effective way of doing it. It would be connecting the Mediterranean Sea and an inland reservoir. So we're going to be creating an inland, a very small inland reservoir to feed the tunnel system. The canal would be reinforced concrete retaining walls. It would be 0.5 meters wide by 16 meters deep. It's going to need to be that kind of dimensions to retain water in this particular location. Obviously, the very, very large volumes of water moving through this area, it needs to be fit for purpose. We're going to be using galvanized rebar. Anyone who tells you not to use galvanized rebar is probably an idiot or an amateur. You have to use that. It will increase the lifespan of this particular retaining wall by at least 20 to 30 years. So definitely recommend using galvanized rebar on any major civil engineering project. The actual retaining wall will be sat on 150 millimeter diameter board piles. There'll be steel piles, 25 meters deep at 4-meter centers. That is to ensure that this wall stays in place for the next 150 years and does not topple over if we do at some point need to widen the canal. Obviously there may be some extra works required if they do require widening the canal, but I don't think that. But just to be safe, let's put it in there and make sure we are 100% sure this is going to stand the test of time. So inland reservoir will be 80 meters long by 15 meters wide by 24 meters deep. So it's very, very big, a lot bigger than an Olympic sized swimming pool. Again, reinforced concrete, galvanized steel rebar. This reservoir will be linked to 4 your typical tunnels from the boring company, 14-foot diameter tunnels. Initially just the one. They will be approximately 55 kilometers long, or 34.2 miles. In between the actual canal and the reservoir, we'll have 6 sluice gates. That ensures that we can undertake any maintenance we need to do on the tunnels or on the reservoir. Thus, we need sluice gates to control the flow of water. These are plans that have been proposed in the past. As you can see, the lowest point here is 133 meters. I think A is the best route for this particular proposal. It is the shortest route. The land in that area is relatively flat near the coast before going up to a reasonably mountainous area. Here's a diagram that I produced in advance. So as you can see, you can't actually see the depression unfortunately because my mug is in the way, but as you can see, we have our inland reservoir here. This is prior to flooding. We have our tunnel that heads down at a gradient of around 1 in 800. We have a flat section here, and then it goes up here at a gradient of around 1 in 300, and then the water comes out into our large depression here. Here we go. Here's a look at what will happen when we eventually open those sluice gates and the water floods into our either tunnel or tunnels. It will fill up the Qatar depression. Obviously, if sea level is here on this side of the it's not really a mountain, but it's kind of a mountainous area of the hill. Let's call it a hill. So on this side of the hill, you've got your water, sea level here. It will match it on this side. Thus, it doesn't matter if the tunnel is heading downwards before eventually coming up. It will still fill up this inland lake. We've got approximately 24 meters below sea level at this point here near our reservoir. When it eventually emerges at the other side of the hill, it is 10 meters below sea level, so we're still going to have that water pressure from the sea pushing through here and filling up the reservoir. At its deepest point, 133 meters. Just to let you know about the concrete we're going to use, obviously this is sea water. Sea water does not work well with concrete if you don't prepare in advance. We're going to have at least 90 mil of cover on our reinforcement, otherwise seawater will get into the concrete, penetrate that rebar, and then cause corrosion, which will then break out the concrete. We want a low water to cement ratio, very low water to cement ratio if practical. We want very good compaction. We'd probably use some kind of plasticizer or additive to ensure that we could use low water, and that would allow us to compact the concrete sufficiently for this to work properly. If we compact it properly, that's going to prevent the sea water from penetrating the concrete. Thus, the concrete will last in excess of 100 years for this particular project. And the same goes for our concrete segments in the tunnel. They will need to be made to be fit for purpose. So here is our, imagine we're in a drone and we're floating above the project near the Mediterranean Sea. As you can see here, we've got our sea canal, we have our inland reservoir, and then connecting that we have our tunnels. Initially we will maybe just go for tunnel B, but once the TBM has got to the other side of the hill, it will then come back and create tunnel C. To ensure that in the future we can construct tunnel A and tunnel D, we will have retaining walls here, and thus that will allow us to build tunnel A and tunnel D in the future without having to build some kind of very complicated dam inside here, or some kind of complicated tunnel that links under here. It's better to plan in advance and do it as such, so that it is relatively easy to construct. Also remember, we've got our sluice gates, our 6 sluice gates, In the event of needing to do maintenance on any of these tunnels, they will be closed. If the flow needs to be controlled, we can either partly open them or close them entirely for small periods of time. Here's our canal. It sits on our steel piles, 150 mil, which we then fill with concrete just to shore up this system. We have our concrete retaining walls. Most of this can be done with standard equipment, excavators, loaders and dump trucks. However, this particular bit here, because it is very deep, we're probably going to be hitting bedrock around 7 to 8 meters. Therefore, we probably have to blast this area out. In the future, it may be necessary to expand this canal to increase the amount of water that's going into the depression. We could just blast out this area here and this area here, no problem whatsoever. I thought at one point of using some buttresses here down the sides, but instead it makes more economic sense to use these piles. The retaining walls are 16 meters deep and 50 meters wide for the canal. So I have done a cost estimate based on what Elon Musk has told me in regards to the Australia project via Twitter. Now, there are not going to be any shelves in this particular tunnel. However, I'm just going to assume that there will be some form of platform at the bottom here for people to walk down. Thus, I've just very slightly reduced the rate per mile. A single 34.2 mile tunnel will cost $410 million. To do a dual tunnel, which I think we do need really, is going to cost $820 million. The actual canal, which is only 400 meters long, is going to cost 26 million. Yes, I know guys, it's a lot, but it's a very wide canal. We're removing a lot of earth. There's a lot of groundworks to do. Those retaining walls are very thick to ensure that this system lasts the test of time and is structurally sound. Thus, it's going to cost around $26 million. That's a safe number. The sea reservoir and the sluice gates is going to cost around $11 million. The pre-construction and other integral works, there's a lot of things we need to do. Set up our site offices. There will be access roads. There will be other pre-con works to do, surveys, understanding the geology of the particular area. That's going to add to that cost. So I've just put a nice round figure of 29 million in there because there's a fair, and obviously we're going to need to build a concrete batching plant as well for our retaining walls. So I've put that in there in that particular cost. Overall, just for a single tunnel, which would be a good little starter to show that this actually works, would be $476 million. Or for a dual tunnel, $886 million, which is not too bad. That's around 620 million pounds, which in the grand schemes of things is not actually that much, is it guys? Really, for what you're going to get for doing this particular project, spending $886 million is frankly peanuts compared to a lot of other projects that you look at in terms of California high-speed rail and high-speed rail 2 here. They are multi-billion dollar projects, so the fact this is under $1 billion is a good start. Conclusion: this is very financially viable considering Egypt recently spent $8.2 billion on extension of the Suez Canal. So for 1/10 of the price, they could open up thousands of acres of land to residential development, or hotel development, or commercial development, all sorts of things. It opens up many possibilities just for $886 million. Just by auctioning off the land around Lake Qattara will, and I'm calling it Lake Qattara because I like that, will generate many hundreds of millions of dollars easily. Property developers will absolutely love snapping up that land. All the possibilities of building hotels, residential areas, that sort of thing around the lake, marinas, that sort of thing is definitely worth the investment, even if they're paying, you know, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 per, say, acre easily. The government could market this as an Egyptian Marbella with luxury hotels and shopping malls. Obviously, Marbella is in Spain. Typically, people in Marbella drive Ferraris, Bentleys, that sort of thing. They live in luxury apartments and buildings with swimming pools and garages and fancy things. It could easily turn this into the next Marbella, even bigger, with your own marina for your boat, somewhere to park your boat and use the actual lake itself. It would be perfect. You could have lots and lots of shopping malls and hotels in this area. It would be perfect. Project could be completed in 18 months. I'm being very pessimistic about that. I think it could be done in a lot less than that. I think it potentially could be done in 14, even 15 months easily. If Elon Musk can do around about a mile every 8 or 9 days, and he said he can do it in a week, a mile a week, I think it will take about 8 or 9 days to do a mile. Easily doing 3 miles a month. Could easily, very easily bang this out quite quickly, as long as we don't have any issues along the way. And I think that the geology in this area is reasonably stable. Other ideas for this project. Obviously, just constructing this project is not enough to make this a success. There are all sorts of other things that will be done. Hopefully they will be done by other developers, maybe the government, maybe other foreign governments might invest, who knows. But this is what excites me about this particular project, not just the engineering of building it, but also all the other things that come with it. This is amazing. I love this idea, and I was thinking about this last night. The lake could be populated with dolphins, fish, sea turtles, stingrays and sharks. Imagine this microcosm of marine life that could live in this lake, and you could live right next to it. You could scuba dive, you could see it all there. It would be absolutely amazing if you had hundreds and hundreds of dolphins. It just, you know, what a tourist attraction that would be, just to go and see the dolphins and swim with them and find things in the lake. You'd have a large marina with a sailing club. Obviously that would be a big thing, if people owning the boats and sailing in the lake itself. You could have columns for buildings built pre-flooding of the lake, thus creating a spectacular home. So the actual columns would sit underneath the sea water, underneath the lake, and then you could build your house on top of the lake. Imagine that. You could have a swimming pool in the middle of your house where you could jump into the lake. That would be amazing. From an architectural point of view, that would be beautiful if you could have a house floating on top of the lake. It would look like it's floating, but it wouldn't be, because it would be sat on columns. So you need a local airport with links to Europe if you really want to bring in those tourists from Germany and the UK, Ireland, France, that sort of place, Eastern Europe. Bars and restaurants, obviously it is a Muslim country, but places like Dubai, places like Morocco, you can buy alcohol and that sort of thing. So there's no reason why you couldn't have bars and restaurants in the area to keep the punters happy. Floating homes in Holland, they have these precast concrete floating homes. Why not have thousands of these floating homes in the southern part of this lake, and just have them floating around, and people could live there, and it'd be a beautiful existence, living on this beautiful calm blue lake in the middle of sunny Egypt. You need a desalination plant. Obviously you're going to have thousands of people living here, Thus, you'll need to provide them with clean drinking water. Need hotels, lots of hotels, lots of 6- and 7-story hotels right on the waterfront or beachfront, whatever you'd like to call it, and beautiful views across the lake. People would easily pay €100, €150 a night just to have a beautiful view across the lake in a nice 4-star, 3-star hotel. Water park. I love water parks. Every time I go on holiday with my son, all we want to do is spend 4 hours at the water park, and we're still excited when we leave. How great would it be to have, say, one of the world's biggest water parks in this area with giant slides that feed into the lake? Imagine you could have the biggest water slide in Africa, say like 60 meters tall. How great would that be? It'd be super cool, man. Agriculture. You can actually grow quite a lot of marine plants using seawater. There is a study going on at the moment in parts of I believe it's in Africa, and they're using plants that are sourced from marine environments. They can also use the water in greenhouses and evaporate it for things like cucumbers and potatoes. So you can have agriculture in that area, or you could even maybe link an agricultural area south of the lake with some pipe work. It would only need to be a short distance for it to be effective. Great. Right, guys, thank you for watching this episode. As you can see, I am very, very passionate about the Qatar depression. The Qatar depression. It is a fundamentally brilliant project which is very cost effective to build. Why not do it? Elon Musk should definitely put in a quote to President Sisi of Egypt and see what he thinks about it, because it can be done it could be done for around $420 million just to begin with, and then obviously you can milk him for a bit more money to do the other 3 tunnels. How great would that be? Thank you for watching, guys. Appreciate this has been a long episode, but you know, this is a really, really great topic to talk about. Please like and subscribe. Thank you to all my Patreons. Tell me what you think in the comments below about this project. Do you think it's an awesome project? Do you think it's stupid? Do you think it's a money earner or a money loser? You tell me in the comments below, or join me on Discord. Right, guys, thank you very much for joining me, and you know, have a great day. Don't be boring. See you soon. Goodbye.
زي ما شفتوا حضراتكم، الراجل بيقول لك ان النفقين هيتكلفوا 880 مليون دولار، يعني اقل من مليار. وبالدراسه بكله، الدراسه ديت وكله كله 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 وتكنوقراط مصر تواصلت معاه وجاهزه بهذا المشروع. مجرد هذا النظام يمشي على طول المشروع نبدا فيه فورا، نروح نوقع العقود وتيجي الشركة بالمعدات بتاعتها وتبدأ في الحفرة، ونبدأ إن شاء الله في خلال 18 شهر زي ما سمعتوا في الفيديو إن هذا المشروع هيكون جاهز من الألف إلى الياء. طيب فاضل إيه؟ الإرادة الشعبية للتخلص من هذا النظام فقط. لذلك إحنا بنقوله لابد هذا النظام يرحل، لأنه دمر البلاد اقتصاديا واجتماعيا وسياسيا، وبالتالي نهضة مصر في إيدين أبناء مصر في التخلص من هذا النظام. أرجو أن ربنا يوفقنا لما يحبه ويرضاه أولا، وأن يخلصنا من هذا النظام. وانتظروا الفيديو القادم الخاص كيفية الاستفادة من مشروع القطارة. يبقى هنعتبر ان يوم 11 هذا هو يوم خاص بالقطارة. الفيديوهين اللي هحطهم، اللي هو الفيديو ده زائد الفيديو القادم، ان شاء الله هيكون خاص بمشروع القطارة. شكرا. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.